This show is abysmal. I absolutely detest these solo outings. How is it that the Avengers are left out of these world on the brink scenarios? In the bombastic, egotistical words of Captain Marvel, there are other worlds I need to save, or something along those lines. This is supposed to be the narrative? No, it's a budget cut for most of these shows. This is definitely the sloppiest, overhyped MCU entry to date. Then they tried to emulate Winter Soldier with the same font during timeline and location scenes. However, that's where the emulation ends. Save your time and frustration. Hell, save your family by avoiding this. God damn, the whole family. Secret Invasion, more like Boring Invasion. Fucking got him. Secret Invasion is an audiobook masquerading as a TV show. It was basically all exposition and no visual storytelling. Unbelievably bad. Really can't see a way for Marvel to recover after this. Okay, so enough from hearing from other people. Let's get to the only opinion that ever matters in this world, mine. This whole video is just going to be a nerdy rant by me, so get on board. So, my overall issue with this show is that it's pointless. It's just pointless. It's 6 episodes of people walking around streets in Europe and Fury just sitting there drinking and whining about how unfair this all is and how this all could end the world with World War III. But then it doesn't, and the last 10 minutes they just decide, nah, everything's fine actually. Also, if these nuclear wars and half the planet gets blown to shreds, the Skrulls haven't really left themselves with a great place to build on, have they? Plus, most of them will probably die in the crossfire anyway. But in the end, all of a sudden, the Skrulls can go back home, and we killed the main villain in like 3 minutes, rescued the kidnapped people the Skrulls were impersonating, and Fury can go back to chilling on his fake beach in space, so we're all good. So let's talk about Fury, right? One of my main problems of this show for me personally was how Nick Fury is portrayed as a sympathetic guy who's struggling, trying to keep the peace, and it feels like the world's on his shoulders and he's getting a rough time from everybody left, right and centre. But he deserves it. Like, I don't feel sorry for you, Nick. He promised the Skrulls he'd find them a new home, and in the meantime he used them to form his own secret spy network and climb the ranks at S.H.I.E.L.D., got himself the director gig, but he didn't find them a home anytime soon, and then he just gave up. He let Talos be him and do all the work back at home, while he just chilled on a pretend beach up in space. And then him moaning about, oh, this is such a terrible situation, how am I going to fix it? It's basically the equivalent of me borrowing a load of money from people and then start complaining, why are people hounding me for money when I haven't tried to pay any of it back? Seriously though, I do need to pay some money back. I've got people after me, like the library, basically. I took an Iron Man 2 DVD out in 2010 and it's £2 a week, man. The fine's going up. Please subscribe, help me make some money on this so I can start paying off these really bad people that are after me. But literally, it's just so dumb how this whole situation and show could have been avoided just by Fury a long time ago saying, oh yeah, sorry guys, I can't find you a planet, we've looked, but we need to work something else out. But no, he was a selfish motherfucker, and he just kept them on the hook because he was just using them as spies. He's basically like that girl that, you know, that doesn't want to be with you but wants to keep you around as a shoulder to cry on, and they kind of want to keep using you, you know? That's basically Fury with the Skrulls. And yes, Fury had other things going on, granted, but all of those big things that he had to deal with, like, you know, Avengers and world invasions and stuff, they all happened over a decade after he made his promise to the Skrulls. Like, basically, he just never prioritised finding the planet. He was like, nah, I'll get round to it, but it's not top of my list, to be honest. Now, I've mentioned in other Marvel videos how terrible the Inhumans show was. And don't get me wrong, Secret Invasion is nowhere near as bad and unwatchable as that piece of Hulk-sized crap. But one of the biggest issues with that show was how the guy who was the villain and who we were meant to root against was actually right. Like, it was hard not to agree with him. And that's sort of the case here. The way Gravik goes about it can be terrible most of the time, but the basic argument this rebel group have is completely fair and justified. It's a bit like how you'd probably agree with the message most climate change activist groups offer, but the way they go about it is just indefensible. The other problem is, we've seen this already fairly recently in the MCU with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which was another very boring show I wouldn't want to sit through again, jeez. And not gonna lie, because I don't want to sit through that slog again, I can't remember the exact cause those guys were fighting for, but at the end of the day, they were just refugees who felt like they didn't have a home. But to make their point, they just start blowing shit up and murdering tons of people to get attention to their cause. And I guess that's just to make them bad guys because the story needs one. And let's talk about the thing that should have been the most exciting aspect of this show. The mystery of who was a Skrull and who wasn't. Nah, barely touched upon. Like, there was no big reveal that was shocking or garnered any interest. The biggest reveal was Rhodey being a Skrull, but like, that was done terribly. They didn't even reveal it in a shocking way that made you jump out your seat. They just made it obvious by having Rhodey act clearly like he's not Rhodey, and then being heavily involved with the bad guys. I actually liked this isolated scene with the mirror reveal, but it was just a formality at that point. We already knew that he was a Skrull, it was so obvious. The other problem is, it was never going to be too shocking making Rhodey a Skrull because he's the highest level character there who isn't a main level Avenger, other than Fury, who obviously was never going to be a Skrull. We knew nobody big was going to be brought in to be a Skrull because of the same old issues TV shows that are connected to bigger movies often face, with the main A-list actors being too expensive or involved in other projects. And then the other people who were revealed to be Skrulls were just complete nobodies that we haven't ever seen before and probably won't ever see again. I mean, who the f*** is this dude? He's basically just introduced for the reveal. One of the best things about any reveal in any successful mystery story is looking back at the clues you missed that revealed the truth along the way. And Marvel had a great opportunity to do that here, with a huge backlog of Rhodey content throughout the MCU so far. But they didn't. I just don't understand how a show that's been planned for a couple of years just never decided, okay, this person's going to be revealed as a Skrull, let's do some things to hint to that in other projects that they appear in before we get to this show. Like, you could have shown some subtle out-of-character moments in other shows or movies that you look back on and go, ah, that makes sense, that's why he was a bit of a dick there now. They chucked Martin Freeman in there too as a Skrull because he's in the movies enough to feel like that's a big reveal. But like, who really cares? What impact does that even make? It only makes you question how long they were a Skrull and in what movies that wasn't actually the real them. But what difference does that make again? There was no foreshadowing, and it doesn't make a difference or change your perspective of that character and any other appearances they've made. It just feels like, okay, yeah, they're a Skrull there. It doesn't really matter or change anything. It's just reduced to being fun trivia at this point. And that's the case for all of the characters in this show. They're just there. Maria Hill is brought in just to die, which I feel like worked against them really, because it seemed like it raised the stakes, like anything could happen here. And it felt like that was a ballsy move to kill off such a long-running character in the first episode, but no. That's as big as we got for a plot twist, really, and in hindsight, it doesn't really mean that much. It just answers the question of, where's Maria Hill? Oh yeah, she's dead. Sorry, Maria Hill's mum, I think you're the only person in the long run who's really going to remember or care. Fury won't. At least, they won't show him being affected by that. He's all good now. He's got his hot alien wife and spaceship back, baby! There is zero tension or suspense in who could be a Skrull or who isn't. If anyone is revealed as a Skrull, it doesn't make a blind bit of difference. It doesn't really make you react emotionally as an audience. Their biggest toy to play with here is that you can't trust anyone. Nobody could be who they're claiming to be, but that's never used or presented in the show, and that honestly blows my mind. It's like saying we're going to make, I don't know, the movie It, but we're not going to play on the audience's fear and tension or have any jump scares. We'll just slowly have things happen and keep everything mundane. We don't want to get anyone too worked up or excited. This could have been such a good spy thriller like The Winter Soldier, but there's no thrill at all. The show never gets out of second or even first gear. Okay, so let's talk about how this all ended. Fury just pops back up to space again to chill, but this time he brings the alien wife he forgot about with him because he remembers she exists and he loves her now, I guess. And hello? There's still a lot of unfinished business here. He's just turned up and made things worse, if anything, and then just left again. He's honestly the villain of this. Like, you're doing it again, Nick. What about the million Skrulls still on Earth? You're just going to leave Emilia Clarke and Olivia Colman to deal with this? At this point, we can say it's not a dick move. It's just a Nick move. This is just what he does. So one of the only big things that really happen in this show is the DNA mixing. Now, being the Marvel geek I am, I love seeing all of the Easter eggs to previous events that have happened within the MCU. I'm really pleased with this because I love continuity so much it's almost sad. Now, I found this really freaking cool. However, it's also really dumb in hindsight. Why do they need all these powers? You've got so many overlapping powers here. You've got Hulk, Abomination, Captain America, Winter Soldier, but it just feels like lazy writing to appease fanboys. Groot. Oh, Carl Obsidian. Oh, shit. Extremis. Oh, so many Easter eggs in that. Love that. Love all them MCU Easter eggs. They don't need all of these. Just pick a couple. Like, most of these do the same thing and are redundant. I recently rewatched Guardians 3 and it reminded me that Drax looks this way because they are tattoos. So why does Emilia Clarke have them? Those aren't included in Drax's powers or DNA. Again, it's just a lazy reference for like something has happened in this show of wandering around Europe and Nick Fury drinking. To be honest, Captain Marvel's powers alone are enough. You can add in some Hulk strength and maybe some Extremis healing, but the rest of it is mostly just unnecessary. You're just bulking it out for no reason. Sometimes less is more, you know? Right, girls? And don't even ask me how they even knew how to use these powers like Ebony Maw. Also, how the does Gravik have his rings too? They only had his DNA, right? And do you just become magic from his DNA? Don't you need to like learn that? So here's a list of all of the powers that they actually used. Ghost, who wasn't even in the endgame battle by the way, so I don't know how they got her DNA. Plus, she couldn't even control them powers herself, but okay. Groot, Korg, the Frost Beast, Hulk, Captain Marvel, Mantis, Thanos, Cole Obsidian, Extremis, Ebony Maw, Captain America, Winter Soldier, Drax, Corvus Glade, Abomination, Proxima Midnight, one of the Outriders, Thor, Valkyrie, Gamora, and a Chitauri. And after all of that build-up, they just have a 2-minute punch-up and she blasts him through the chest or whatever, and it's all done and dusted. But even though Extremis should probably healed him, like, there's been longer and better fight scenes in the Vic and EastEnders. Also, this really bugs me.
Fury, why haven't you called any of your special friends down?
This is personal. We can't keep depending on these superheroes to swoop in and save our asses. None of them have lived the life I have. None of them can defend the world the way I can.
Yeah, so it's personal. So he sends Gaia in his place. And then the president at the end declares war on all alien species on Earth. So that's going to be awkward when there's a whole town of Asgardians that are living here peacefully. And now you've got this insanely overpowered character in Emilia Clarke just still wandering around the streets of Europe, I guess. With almost every freaking power in the MCU. Like, what are they going to do with this character? I highly doubt she'll be in the Marvels. I honestly question if this show will ever be mentioned much again because, again, it was just pointless and nothing really happened that meant anything. Something you may not know about this show as well is that they actually used AI to create the show's intro. And honestly, I feel like AI probably would have done a better job with the script. Now you'll see in my reaction videos, I quite enjoy watching the show for the most part, believe it or not. Because I just didn't take it that seriously. I wasn't invested from pretty early on, so I just tried to have fun with it. And he's exposed himself. Everyone's exposing themselves. I'm going to expose... No, I'm joking. And obviously, I wanted good reactions for the video. I wanted to have some sort of energy. But, you know, if you liked it, all good to you. I'm not one of them people or that criticizes things and being like, how could you like that? You shouldn't like that. This is the reason why. I'm not going to preach to you. If you liked it, more power to you. I'm glad. Like, there's loads of things I like that most people hate. Like myself. And I'm joking. But if you liked it, I'd genuinely like to hear about it. So let me know in the comments down below. I'm not one to argue or try and convince. I don't subscribe to the whole toxic fan base bullshit that happens with Marvel and all that stuff, so just let me know what you think, and if you liked it, good for you. Drop a like and hit that subscribe button. It's completely free to do so you might as well. I'm really grateful if you stuck around for the entirety of this video, and hopefully click that bell button, and I'll see you in the next one.
I don't believe in destiny, I just do what's best for me. Don't listen to my enemies, they're just full of jealousy. Yeah, this legacy, you gon' see what's left of me. You gon' see success in me, you ain't seen the rest of me. I just wanna be the best at what I know, better than the rest, just watch me grow. Put me to the test and watch me go. This is my quest, I'ma make it known. They call me obsessive, oh I know.
If you want to see my reactions to every single episode of this show, make sure you click on this playlist here. It will take you right there from episodes 1 to 6.